I'm Becca.
And I'm Anthony. Welcome to our ADU here in Portland, Oregon.
We met about 15 years ago at a wedding, actually.
My cousin's wedding.
Yeah. Originally from the Midwest, Kansas and Missouri, and we've been living out on the West Coast for 10 years. I am an interior designer, and I worked for some architecture firms. Last year, Anthony and I decided to take a break from our careers, pursue some travels and exploring the world, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. This is our property. We bought the Craftsman bungalow in the background here in 2016, and it's a 1925. It was a fixer-upper. We had to do a renovation on that for about 3 years. And then after that, we wanted to convert the dilapidated garage into our ADU.
This is an average city lot, so we're really intentional about how we utilize that space to make sure that it provided privacy, but also made it feel like we were able to enjoy the outdoors. And so we'll just start here with one of our favorite parts of the whole backyard, and that's our hot tub space. We spend quite a bit of time back here, especially whenever it's a little bit cold and dreary over the winter and spring months.
And then over on this side, we have our communal veggie patch. It's early spring still, so we don't have anything flourishing quite yet, but we wanted to locate the veggie garden in a place that was going to be easy access to both tiny homes, and so it's located here in between both of them. And we love to grow tomatoes. We have a bunch of cilantro growing right now. We have some culinary herbs and kale currently. And then just behind the veggie garden, we have the space that was created for the tiny home. So this is our friend's tiny home. And originally it was the driveway into the garage. And these guys brought their tiny home up from Arizona, and they also built out the deck around it to really make it feel integrated with the garden space.
Everybody kind of has a communal space, but there's also individual spaces as well. So they can sit out here and drink their coffee or sit in their hammock while we're enjoying our hot tub or whatever that might be. And it's really cool because that used to just park a car, and now it provides a great spot for our friends to live. Quite an upgrade.
Now for a brief message from our sponsor, Skillshare. I don't know about you, but now seems like the perfect time to work on my survival skills. You know, self-care, artistic expression, plant growing, and business building skills. Skillshare is an incredible online learning community with classes for days and weeks and months even. I've explored lots of sweet new skills like writing and plant care with classes like Plants at Home by Christopher Giffen. Next up for me, Style Your Space, Creative Tips and Techniques for Interior Design by Emily Henderson. Do you have a specific skill you're trying to learn? Well, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. The first 1,000 of Tiny House Expedition subscribers to sign up using our code and link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare.
We just decided that kind of with the rising rents in the Bay Area and just how expensive things were becoming, we got really interested in alternative lifestyles. We really explored tiny house options. At that point, ADUs were relatively new. They were only just now becoming legal in Portland and basically nowhere else. We kind of took a different approach to that. We purchased a fixer, which we were probably way in over our heads on. But you know, that's kind of what you do. You jump into it and you don't know what you don't know until you're in it, right? And we had the idea that we would always convert our garage into an ADU, and we were hoping that if we created a nice enough space, as Brad and Kate finished their tiny house, that they would be interested in moving up to Portland with us.
I'm Kate.
Hi, my name is Brad. This is our tiny house on wheels.
I work for a sustainability nonprofit that's focused on improving the built environment and reducing climate impacts in that specific area. Really feel grateful to have fallen into that career path, and I think just like living out our lives in the tiny house really aligned with all of that as well.
I work in architecture, studied and practice it. I implemented a lot of the things I learned into this build, into the design of this house.
Then we move into the truly communal area of the yard. And so this is central to all of the homes, the big house, the ADU, and the tiny house. We have the chimenea that's for, fires on cooler nights. And then we also have the larger dining table where we can all have barbecues and just enjoy the space together during the summer. When we bought the property, it was just a total blank slate. So the backyard was an asphalt pad and a big rotting deck. The front yard was just weeds and there was nothing growing here. We were really interested in creating a lush oasis back here. The design of the landscape, it's for feeding the people here, but it also feeds the native wildlife. And so we have a wonderful permaculture designer neighbor who helped us with the design. And so it's also a habitat for beneficial insects and the critters that they help the plants as well. That was actually a really cool thing, that immediate change actually after we first planted the garden. We started to see this influx of all these different types of birds that had never come to our garden before.
Let's go have a look inside.
So our ADU is about 370 square feet. It was the garage originally on this property. We converted it into a studio. One of the main things that we wanted to do to make it feel open and bigger than it really is was to vault the ceilings. And so that was one of the really important design elements that we were thinking about, as well as connecting to the outdoors.
We actually live in this space here, and we Airbnb out our big house. So we created this space really for us in mind. And I think you'll see that as we go around, some of the things that are important to us and some of the influences throughout our travels, we really tried to incorporate into the design of the ADU.
So we are currently in the living room. We just have our nice sofa here. These are actually art that we bought when we were in Mexico City, actually with Brad and Kate, our friends in the tiny house. They went on that trip with us. Underneath our sofa is one of the areas where we can store some items. So we have some plastic tubs that are small enough to slide underneath. Good little storage spot. This is our dining area, small dining area. We can seat 4 here. We have just a simple piece of plywood here, and then 4 legs from the company called Floyd. And it just uses a ratchet strap to connect the legs together with tension to create any kind of surface into a dining table. Now we're entering into the kitchen zone. And so this is set up very much like a big house kitchen. The only difference really is that we've used more of apartment-sized appliances. And so we have a 24-inch cooktop and oven instead of a 30-inch. And we have a dish drawer instead of a full-size dishwasher. So we have, a drawer that's for bigger dry food items underneath the dishwasher. We can do spices and that kind of thing here. Another feature of the kitchen is we've built all of the cabinets in the same material as what you'll see on the floor and the ceiling. It's called Baltic birch plywood. And because we were using the Baltic birch plywood and you can expose this beautiful edge, we didn't need to put hardware on the outside. You can actually just carve out these little poles and it just makes a really clean aesthetic. One of the other items that you'll see here is that we didn't do upper cabinets. We actually like to keep the space above the counter open, again, just to make the space feel more open. And also, we're a little bit minimalistic. We don't like to have a lot of clutter. We have our one set of dishes that are really precious to us that we bought in Mexico City, and we want to display those and have everything out in the open, easy to grab. And we've done the same thing actually with our pots and pans. They're just out here hanging on the wall, so everything's just easy. And now we're entering into the bathroom. So this is our bathroom, and it also functions as our laundry room. So down here to my right, we have a combo washer dryer that you see a lot in Europe. They're not so common here. We have a little cabinet above for all the things that you might need in the laundry room. On this side, it's just our vanity space. The top is actually just an IKEA top. It's just one of those walnut veneer tops that you can get at IKEA, so inexpensive. We have the vessel sink and a wall-mounted faucet here. And then over on this side, we have our shower. And one of the things that we wanted to incorporate was a skylight above the shower. That was built in, and you can actually open it to vent as well.
Basically, in Portland, you have to have a full-time resident to be able to Airbnb out your property. Otherwise, you can rent it for 90 days a year. And so for us to be able to provide a house for families coming through Portland for 365 days a year, we decided to move out to the ADU and be able to do that. And plus, it was actually more important for us to be able to have the yard space. And I think if we were in the big house, coming back here, you'd be very aware of your guests being back here. Whereas when we're back here, we're able to enjoy this space without being aware of, we have guests in our home, and, that's something that we worked really hard to remodel, and, they're enjoying it. We're able to be back here and kind of turn that side of things off, which has, I think, been really good for us.
Mm-hmm. And it's really unique, I think, to be able to live in an American city, but not look out and see cars in a street, to look out and see a garden, more like what you would get if you lived in a more rural area. Okay, and then over here we have our tiny wood stove.
When we were designing the space, this was a really important part of the overall kind of feel of the ADU. As important as it is whenever the weather's nice, for us to have this amazing outdoor space and it feel very flowy. Portland's also known for its cold, dark winters. And so when it gets cold and dark, you really want a small space to feel as cozy as you can. And this wood-burning fireplace really accomplishes that.
This is our little bedroom nook over here. We have storage underneath the bed. So we have these baskets. This is actually where we keep a bunch of our shoes, really close to the front door. And we also have our TV, which rotates to face the living space.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
For when you're sitting on the couch.
It rotates to face the living space, or you can even lay in bed and watch a movie if you want. And then over here, we have a really nice size closet for a tiny home. We decided to do a custom organization within the closet to maximize the space. And so we have long hanging storage on the left. We have some shelf storage here. We each get 2 drawers, and then we've split up for shorter hanging storage on the right.
It's starting to get a little bit warmer now in Portland during the summer months. And so we actually put the mini split in after our first year here. And it's really great for the space. It heats it up and cools it down really quickly, and it's actually super energy efficient, which was important to us. And so we're able to enjoy comfortable weather inside the house all year long.
So this is one of our most favorite features of our tiny home is the panoramic door. It has 3 panels that can open all the way up whenever we have nice weather, and it really helps us feel connected to the garden.
And for privacy, we're able to have these blackout curtains that completely go across. And so at nighttime, we have complete privacy. And so you see it makes quite a bit of difference being open and closed. Portland has been very progressive in alternative living situations and alternative kind of dwellings, this being one, an accessory dwelling unit. And so that was definitely a factor in us moving to Portland, is we wanted to be able to set this community up, but do it legally. Like, the last thing you want is to get a letter in the mail saying all of your hard work is not able to be done here, and there's a fine, or you just can't inhabit the building. And what was really cool is, as we were hoping that our friends would bring their tiny house up here, that's when the city of Portland started looking at tiny houses differently as well. Whereas they were kind of in a gray area to where you didn't know if you were going to be able to keep the tiny house on the property or not. They started to pass some legislation that allowed tiny houses to actually be legally parked on properties.
Our tiny home on wheels is 17 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, and a little over 12 feet tall.
And we've lived in the tiny house for a little over 4 years.
We've built a deck on 2 sides of the house, and this front deck here covers up part of the tongue on the trailer. We use this front space here as a little outdoor bar. We have a light there and an electrical outlet. We always talk about making margaritas out there, but we often cook out there in the summer when it's kind of hot out, and we can bring our stovetop outside and use it as a prep and cook space.
We took a long time to deliberate over our siding, but we had a really strong idea of what we wanted the outdoor aesthetic to be of our home. We ended up choosing some lightweight metal to sort of go along with keeping the tiny house really lightweight. And then we got to experiment with Shusugi Bon, burning these panels, and that was really kind of fun to play with fire a little bit too.
While we're looking at the outside of the house, I'd like to show you a few things around back that I think are highlights of this build. So here's our outdoor shower. We'll use this in the summer months. And then this is a back storage closet that we have. And all the tools that we use for the build end up in here. It's also a utility closet, so we have a hot water heater back here, our electrical fuse panel, and we even have a router back here for our own Wi-Fi.
Yeah, welcome inside our tiny house. So this is what we like to call the BK Lounge. Some of the goals for this space was to really make it feel airy, bright, open. We really focused on keeping sort of this square concept instead of accentuating the rectangular shape of the trailer. And so those proportions were really important to us in this design and build. Also, we really wanted to have a high ceiling, good light. And behind me is the kitchen. So I'm just going to show you some features over here. First of all, we wanted there to be a really large sink because we don't have a dishwasher in this space. We also cut out the countertop to keep the pieces as cutting boards. So we have this cutting board in here. We also have another cutting board over here if we want to turn this entirely into prep space and close that up. And then we decided to use foot pedals for our sink to conserve water whenever we're washing dishes. So we have the cold here, the hot here, and we've just loved the functionality of this sink. Another main goal of the kitchen space was just lots of storage. Even though we live in a tiny house, we actually do a lot of our own food prep. So we make our own kombucha, we dehydrate vegetables from the garden, we like to cook a lot, so lots of storage in here, lots of nooks and crannies to hide things. I'll start over on this side. First of all, we wanted there to be hidden storage, but also functional space above it. So we actually end up storing a lot of things on top of our cabinets. But then also inside here, we call this our pantry. Some people might not consider this a pantry, but we can actually just fit so much in here. It was also important to us to have not a cat that jumps on our countertops, to have an apartment-sized fridge. Again, just with food prep and making a lot of food in this space, we just wanted to have good storage. So that's how we sort of determined to do this design with the wraparound around the fridge. This was a really fun shelf to build. Really tight space, had to use literally tiny tools to put the hardware in, but it's just perfect for spices, extra mugs, things like that. A lot of our baking and cooking items go in here. Also just tons of storage under our sink. So this is where we keep most of our cleaning supplies. We have our trash and recycle. It's just been really functional for our use. Hang some extra bags here. And then you'll see here we have our cat door actually. So we take out one of the kitchen drawers so that our cat Ludo can go in and out of the house. But then when we want to keep him from going out, we just stick the drawer back in there. Another really nice large drawer here for storing some of our dried goods. During the pandemic, when we were doing large grocery runs, we realized truly just how much storage we have in this tiny house and how much we could squirrel away. So get ready, you're gonna see lots of different storage items. Under here is a little toe kick drawer where we just keep some important files hidden away. We liked the open storage as well, not having all of it be closed, because that really keeps the space feeling open and airy. Again, one of our goals. We also like showing off handmade ceramic. So we have a friend in Tucson who's a ceramicist, and she's the one who made these little shot glasses and this carved mug. So it's an opportunity too to show off some of those handmade items that are more sentimental to us as well. We have an Origo stovetop and oven here, and we actually kept the stovetop detached so that we can take it outside to cook on nice warm days here in Portland, which has just been a big game changer. It's really nice having that versatility. Having a little oven as well is really nice. And this Origo stove and oven is actually designed for use on sailboats. So it's 100% stainless steel and it runs off of denatured alcohol. There's little canisters inside that you fill up. And that's one of the ways in which we've been able to stay off propane in this house. So we don't use any propane, it's just electrical for the energy and then the denatured alcohol for the stove and the oven.
Well, just a few weeks ago, really, we got confirmation that we are expecting. So it'll be later this year. It'll be our first child. And we're super excited about it. But yeah, it does bring up some tough questions about how we move forward and what we do with the house. We're transitioning out of it, and we would love it to get another life and for someone to be able to call it home. So we're looking to find the next owner for the house, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really bittersweet. We've talked about it, but it is really like giving up a child or something, which is dramatic sounding, but you put so much time and energy and love into a space like this when you build your own home. Over here, we have some additional prep space for the kitchen. It's also a multi-use space. We can use it as a desk, etc., but it's really useful so that two people can help prep dinner, be working in the kitchen at the same time. You can pull a cutting board over here and just have that additional space. So we decided to use a built-in space for our TV and just some other miscellaneous items. We wanted to have a place to put our shoes and, you know, just a nice place to put like trinkets and make your home a little bit more personal. We don't have a lot of wall space where we can hang things, so this actually ends up being one of the only places that really houses some of our personal items in the tiny house. We also installed this chain above so that we could hang some plants and some other personal items from there as well, just to make sure, you know, we went for a really minimalist design, but to make sure it still felt warm and cozy and like it was ours. One of our goals in the tiny house was also to create concealed spaces. So just past our media center over here, we actually have our bathroom with some extra storage above. So if you press on this, it's just a magnetized latch and it opens up the door to our wet bath just back here. So here in the bathroom, we wanted to keep things lightweight and really cleanable as well. So starting with the door over here, we used some lightweight 80/20 aluminum to build out the frame for the door. And then we used this corrugated plastic panels as one of our finishes in this space as well. And then cedar, which is naturally a water-resistant wood, for some of the, you know, the nicer details in the bathroom. We actually installed a stainless steel shower pan so that the water can all drain into this space. It was, of course, as you can see, designed specifically to slot into this space. Also just a nice, lightweight, super cleanable material. We've just loved this shower. It's been really easy for us. And then we built this little grate to go over it, just so you could be level with the floor in the main house as you walked in. So over here, we have one of the curtains that closes, and we just made some leather straps. So we have one curtain that goes across this side and one curtain that goes across this side to make this a true wet bath experience over here. We decided to go with the exposed copper. We've really enjoyed the aesthetic of that. And then it was also a fun thing to build. Of course, our shower over here. It's nice to have the detachable nozzle. It's been good on like really rainy days, being able to clean our gear both outside with the outdoor shower, but if we needed to bring things in here too, it's a really functional space just for us, for our gear, for ourselves. We did decide to go with a composting toilet. So we have a composting toilet area over here with a urine diverter. And then over here, we have our tiny sink. So this actually just drains into the shower as well. So this was sort of just one of the inventions we came up with in the design of our tiny house. It's just a funnel and it pops out, so it's really easy to clean.
Yeah, so this is where we do all of our activities in the tiny house. It's a very transformative space. We kind of talked about how we wanted to keep those proportions right to where we all could enjoy this area. You see we got the big L-shaped couch. This is a big storage unit. It's all built in. So we have these long drawers that all the clothes go in, and we each get one of those. And then this is a really versatile table that we built, custom for the space. It operates as an extra leg for the bed when it's down. You can sit on it at the desk. You can also put it over here. Use it as a little table, a side table for the couch. That's a fun piece. And then, yeah, below the rug here, there's two big bays that open up, and they're big storage areas that's kind of built into the floor framing of the structure. On this wall here, not only is there a concealed door for the bathroom, there's also a concealed Murphy bed. And let me show you how that opens up. So first thing, you take these long pillows off. And then there's the secret latch up here for safety, but it doesn't fall down until you pull it down. Kind of a DIY Murphy bed system with some big boat swivels and some hinges or some hydraulic struts to ease in the lifting and lowering of the bed. But it's a full-size bed. It exposes all this extra storage space behind the bed whenever it's down. This is good for hanging storage in the back closet. We keep some sleeping bags tucked up in the top. It's still vaulted up there, so we have a lot of space. And then we have hats on display. And then we each have our own nightstands. So with a built-in reading light, and then we customize it with our own knickknacks on the sides. And then the top shelf is just for book storage and a dehumidifier.
Having Brad and Kate in the backyard was really amazing, especially during the pandemic. That was a really actually great summer for us and a really fun bonding time with them. We actually completed a lot of the landscaping and yard work that summer together.
Lots of backyard barbecues and card games, and just spending a lot of time together.
Yeah.
Ever since we moved up here, it's just been so nice to have kind of built-in friends and a little built-in community. And I know like something we're so grateful for during the pandemic was to be able to open our door and share like lockdown with them.
And like communal living in general, I think you really have to hone your communication skills. You need to really be clear about like comfort with things, and I think we all learned a lot of valuable lessons around that too.
You know, we had been interested in financial independence, but it has become so much more than that through doing the Airbnb, living small, realizing we don't need a lot actually. If you can do that and you can create some passive income, we've actually been able to open up all these other possibilities for what our lifestyle could be.
It's funny, whenever you're looking at alternative lifestyles, it seems like kind of a big leap, or it's just very different from American society is, where you want more and more and more. And I think we've continued to find that as we kind of strip back those layers of what it is that we really need, the more minimalistic that we live, the more rich our lives seem to be. We spend more time together than we ever have. We've traveled more than we ever have. I think our savings is actually probably better than it ever has been.
Yep.
what you might look at as sacrifices, not having the 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, or maybe not the brand new big car or whatever, like those actually have been really nice to let go of. And we found that as we continue to strive for that, that balance of a simple life, but a good life and a full life, I think the tiny living has really helped us learn a lot and move forward in that direction.
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below.
And join us on Instagram for bonus content,
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.